Welcome back to another episode of BestowCast, and we're here to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. We finally made it to the end of the Guardians of the Galaxy story. James Gunn managed to tell his vision from beginning to end, and what can I say, but I am exhausted from just watching that movie. I'm just ready to cuddle the cats and take a nap because my God. So if this is your first time listening to the podcast, or if you've been here before, you probably know the mantra. This is not so much a review as an overview. I talk about it. This is an assumption that you've already seen the movie yourself, and you just want to share an experience. Maybe oh yeah, I agree with Paul, or oh no, the heck with you, Paul. That you're all wrong. Anyway, it's not going to be a play-by-play reaccountment of the film. I'm probably going to skip around. I'll try to provide some context if I can provide some context. And the final thing is, of course, spoilers. It's going to be spoiler heavy. And just like I said, it's. I don't know how many of you agree with the same thought that I have, but my word, I'm exhausted. I'm just mentally exhausted. I came out of the theater with a headache because it's like you go from 1 second where they're tugging on the heartstrings and it's sad and it's upsetting and it's moving, and then next thing you know, you're laughing your ass off 1 second later. It's just back and forth for the entire run of this movie. And I don't even know where to start, because it's just like you don't even get through the opening movies, or the opening movies. You don't even get through the opening credits. It's just like you knew something, or at least for me, I knew that something was up when we got the Marvel logo, and you see the first image of the Guardians, because the logo was dedicated to the Guardians. They seem to do this more frequently, or the opening. I forget what it's called. Lobo told me it was I thought I had it, but I don't. But anyway, the opening animatic with the Marvel logo, they've been doing it with a lot of films where it's kind of dedicated towards a certain character or genre or whatever. Like when Stan Lee passed, that opening sequence was all of like Stan Lee's cameos. When Chadwick Boseman passed, the Wakanda Forever was all Chadwick Boseman related. And I think when we get to like the ends of series or whatever, sometimes that they're related to whatever universe or not universe, but whatever characters are related, whatever team or whatever is related. And this one opens up and it's dedicated to the Guardians of the Galaxy. It starts with the script, the script being written to to the comic to the live action, and the first thing we see is Rocket, which I believe is from this movie. I don't think it's from any of the movies prior, but it's from this movie, of Rocket crying. And it's just like, already we're kind of like pulling on the heartstrings early on. I guess where I should go to first is maybe a comparison to the trailer. Because trailers in the modern day are pretty much spoilerific, so I have a tendency to steer away from trailers, even Marvel trailers. I mean, Marvel has a tendency to sometimes edit the trailers to hide certain elements or to change expectations, but I still try to avoid them. You got to get people in the audience, and half the time to get people in the audience, the best stuff that you have to show them comes from the finale. And even if I don't know if it's anybody else, but I know for me, myself, once I start watching the movie, I'll be like, oh yeah, I didn't see this in the trailer yet. Oh, this must be happening soon. Oh yes, this never happened, and oh, this must be happening soon. I don't want to say it's a letdown, but it's just kind of like, oh, well, I kind of wish I was a little bit more surprised by that. But now the analytical side of my brain kind of just is dissecting the trailer while I'm watching the movie. So the only trailer that I ever watched of Guardians of the Galaxy, and then I avoided the rest like the plague, was the trailer, of course, that they played during the Super Bowl. To tell you the truth, if I were to record the podcast, and I don't know, I might have done this on an episode. I don't remember doing this on an episode, but I highly doubt that I did, or maybe I did it on Sleepless Knights. But that trailer presented as a movie in my head was way different than the movie that I actually went to go see. And kudos to whoever cut that trailer. A person who's been kind of following the Guardians and following them whole Marvel stuff since the beginning kind of knows about like the whole relationship between Gamora and Star-Lord. And so my assumption, from what they were showing me and just what I was bringing into it, was that Chris was looking for Gamora. Gamora seemed to maybe have gotten herself in trouble. Like maybe she got herself in trouble linked to the High Evolutionary, and that Peter has to go save her. And, you know, and in doing so, it may have cost him his life. There's a scene where they're carrying his body. So it may have cost him his life. It may have cost him something. He may have traded something to save her. In my mind, or in my head canon, you know, he's part celestial, or part, you know, is Ego celestial? I think the MCU version of Ego is celestial, even though celestials are totally different. They're different beings, but I think the MCU establishes Ego as celestial. Therefore, Peter Quill is kind of like part celestial. So I kind of assume that maybe Peter like sacrifices himself to save Gamora. With the living planet that they show you, I assume that maybe Peter Quill becomes the next Ego. Maybe he becomes another planet, a planet of flesh instead of, you know, of rock and stone. We built this Peter of rock and stone. So yeah, that was the headcanon. That's what I got out of that trailer. That one stupid trailer that I saw once during a stinking sports ball game. And yeah, no, that is totally not what happens whatsoever. This is a story of Rocket Raccoon. It's basically, you get his origin story. The whole thing with the unconscious Peter Quill, or the what I thought could have possibly been dead Peter Quill, happens in the opening of the story. He's just passed out drunk, and they're just carrying him home. That's yeah, that was a big surprise. Where it's like, oh, this happened very. I remember this from the trailer. They make this kind of a key point in the trailer, and it's just like, it's a non-moment, I guess you could call it. But yeah, it's mainly a story about Rocket Raccoon and his buddies. Now, if Riley were here, Riley did see the movie with me, but she was unable to record a podcast episode with me. But if she was here, she would yell at me because I would either say either Layla or Lila, which is Rocket's pal. In my head, I always hear it differently than what it is. And now that she's gaslighted me, well, I don't think she gaslighted me because it's true. I'm saying it wrong, but now I don't know which one is the right version. Her, Teefs, and Floor are Rocket's pals within the confines. They're kind of creations. They're creations of the High Evolutionary. Has some really cool, interesting affects to the rest of the MCU. I don't know too terribly much about the High Evolutionary outside of like, I think was it No More Mutants, or the No More Mutants storyline, or maybe even Messiah Complex, which is a part. It was the storyline that followed No More Mutants. Was that, I always got the implication that High Evolutionary may have a hand in creating the mutants on Earth 616. It still is an open-ended possibility because he's tinkering with genetics. He's and it's expressed. There's races that he's made in the MCU. One of the races that we have seen, of course, is the Sovereign. I kind of feel like maybe he has some sort of implications that maybe he leads, maybe there's some mutant truths to the High Evolutionary. Maybe the Guardians kind of some way backdoor launch the mutant population. Not necessarily, because what is it? Kamala Khan from Miss Marvel is technically our first mutant in the MCU, not including like Xavier, who's an alternate world. Going back to the Messiah Complex storyline and stuff, and I recall like there was a storyline where Beast, all right, so those who may have not have read No More Mutants or House of M or Messiah Complex, the Illuminati decide, the Marvel Illuminati decide that Scarlet Witch is kind of unstable, and with her being unstable, she's basically an Omega powered mutant, and she can destroy the fabric of reality. And she's become more particularly unstable with the loss of her children, I believe. I did not read the storyline going into House of M, so I don't know if that's an affect from the comic or if that's an affect from the MCU. But I believe that her children going missing from an alternate universe or an alternate timeline is a part of that storyline. And so she's mentally not all right. And Xavier, being one of the Illuminati, decides that it's probably best if they off Scarlet Witch and to kind of take her out of the equation. In doing so, she creates she does snap, and she creates the House of M, which is an alternate universe where the mutants where the mutants are basically the ruling party. Magneto is right, he's the number one guy and everything else. And then just kind of fast forwarding through the storyline is Wolverine, who's the only one who it remembers the alternate timeline, because of his healing factor. He somehow has the memory of the alternate timeline, or I don't even know if his healing factor plays a part of it, because there's a way, I don't know if it's touch or something, but he's able to convince other characters that this is not real, this is an illusion, and they eventually bring her down. But in doing so, when bringing her down, her final words are "no more mutants," and she changes the 616 forever. I think that's even echoing today. The comics used to have like thousands upon thousands of mutants, and it basically boils down the mutants to like 200, I think. Because I think there was a comic book that was called the 199, which was just 199 mutants that were left. And so one of the storylines was that Beast was trying to reestablish the mutants, or try to find a way to bring the mutants back, fix their dying race, because they're just going to die out. And at one point he seeks out the High Evolutionary, and he goes to him and says, "Hey, can you help us?" And the High Evolutionary, I believe, again, this is like 20-year-old memory, if the book is 20 years old. This is 10 plus years old memory, where I believe that he's told that he can't undo it because that there's magic involved, and it's alternate reality, so there's some permanency to it. So even High Evolutionary can't undo what was done with No More Mutants. But that was a long detour to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and the High Evolutionary. I think I kind of liked him as a villain. Again, you're talking about a person who likes pretty much goes to movies to enjoy the movies and doesn't really want to nitpick every single aspect. But kind of thinking back of it, and I think that he's a fairly decent villain. He's not really an adversary to the team. He's an adversary to Rocket Raccoon, and he's not really he's for advancing lives and civilizations and betterment. But I guess there's somehow holdups where it's they can't be better than him either. I cull from it that he's doing stuff to advance himself as well, which I guess would make sense with a comic iteration of him. But once he gets bored with whatever he's creating, or if he doesn't feel like it meets his expectations, he just offs it. He just kills it. He just commits genocide, moves on, and then just starts another project, starts brand new. And it's just he's just I don't know, a child that's never satisfied with his toys, or always just breaking his toys. And that's what you kind of get with this. You also got to get this kind of this seedy kind of corporate kind of thing. We finally get to see Black Adam. No, Adam Warlock. Wrong Adam. We get to see Adam Warlock, and he attacks the Guardians. He goes to nowhere, and he takes out the Guardians, injures almost mortally wounds Rocket. And when they go to use med packs, which this is a fascinating idea, where they have these med packs where they can instantly heal. It kind of brings in interesting, because this is spacefaring stuff. Why isn't that stuff? Why doesn't S.H.I.E.L.D. have that kind of stuff? Why isn't that stuff kind of on Earth? I guess granted, in the superhero universe, every other character has basically a healing factor, so I guess that doesn't really matter. I mean, there's some characters that, well, Nebula is mostly robotics and maybe nanomites and stuff, so she's able to instantly repair herself. But anyway, they have these med packs that are able to miracle heal anything and any wound, anything that ails you. You're able to heal, and when they go to use it on Rocket, adverse things happen, bad things happen, and here they find out that there's a device that's wired to his heart that's basically to keep from I got the impression, I don't know if this is true, but I got the impression that it was to keep from infringing on the rights of the corporation that's run by the High Evolutionary. That's his proprietary software, so it's to keep keep anybody from pirating Rocket. And they're unable to save him, and he's going to die either way. If they try to save him, the base, I think it's like a bomb or whatever, will just kill him. And if they do surgery to remove the bomb, it will just kill him. And they can't do anything. So they're kind of we're on a ticking clock to try to save Rocket. And it's balanced with a lot of flashbacks with Rocket's life and how he was created and his what he's done for the High Evolutionary. Rocket is basically they mucked around with his brain and whatnot, but he's a genius. The High Evolutionary considers him leagues above his other creations. And even he's smarter than the High Evolutionary himself. But I kind of would argue that the rest of the batch they're kind of, well, maybe not so much for floor, but like Layla or Lila, depending on who you ask, it seems to be pretty smart. But I guess he's a genius. I mean, he's able to just build things. Yeah, he's able to fly. He's able to fly spaceships without any prior knowledge, or he just knows. So that basically comes around with the High Evolutionary wanting to dissect him and learn from him and basically kill the batch. You just kind of get this whole, he's working on making another civilization. Here I said no, didn't want to do play-by-play, and I'm doing play-by-play. He's working on doing another civilization, but the civilization turns out to be nasty every single time. And Rocket kind of figures out just by looking at the machinery, well, this is what you're doing wrong. And it was the hold-up, the thing that was holding them up for all these years. So yeah, just to get out of the play-by-play, we're kind of like, we're teased with the possibility of Rocket's death. We are filled in with what actually is Rocket Raccoon, which was fun for me. That was an aspect that I never read in the comics, except for Layla/Lila being a character from the comics. I knew that she was a character from the comics, and I'm not 100% sure that this is beat for beat from any specific comic anyway. I kind of have a feeling that a lot of this might have been basically just generated for the MCU. That I don't know how terribly much, what threads are going back to the comics. Because even Adam Warlock, now I have limited knowledge of Adam Warlock. I do have knowledge of the 2000 version of Adam Warlock, where he's a part of the Guardians, which I would love to see in a future episode, movie. That would be awesome. But I have some limited knowledge from the the Infinity Wars. So and I don't really feel like Adam is very closely tied to what either of those comics. I don't know too terribly much about the origins of the Adam Warlock that's in the 2000 Guardians team up. I don't know. I'm hot and cold with that character. I mean, I wanted to see that character since Volume 1. I've seen a few reviews that kind of well, that character's kind of worthless. He's he just pops in whenever plot needs him. I don't really know. I don't really feel that. I mean, I would have wished him to have his face turn. It's a heel turn when they turn bad. What is it when they turn babyface? Is it a face turn? Heel turn and face turn? Is that right? Anybody that watches wrestling, comment wherever you can comment. I really wish he would have became a good guy a little bit sooner. And maybe we could have got a little bit more of Adam Warlock action, but I'm not really, considering what we got in that film, there's a lot of stuff in that film. That film is, like I said, heavy. That is a heavy, heavy, heavy film to go through. And I don't know if we add another character, what that would serve. Because overall, like, the three movies are the correlation of the Guardians as a team, and this is just, you basically see them. By this movie, I don't even feel like the Guardians are a team in this movie. I feel this in this movie, they're family in this movie. They bicker, they yell, they scream, they act like siblings, they act like sometimes parents to children. They don't really seem to have like rank and file as a team, whereas they just seem like that they're like brothers and sisters. Just if they're in a bad mood, then they have the bad times and they have the good times together. And that's what I kind of got from this. And there's is this the A story or the B story? I think the A story would be Rocket and the B story would be Gamora. So Gamora doesn't even really factor too terribly much in this. Gamora is the alternate universe Gamora. So if you watched Endgame, you know that, if you watched Infinity War, you know that this timeline's Gamora dies, and if you watch Endgame, we get an alternate universe Gamora. So she has no ties to Peter Quill, and you kind of get the whole thing of like him pining for her, see him for what he is, and bring back the relationship, bring back a relationship that she can really never have with him anyway. And it's kind of an interesting aspect too, where these movies, usually like you get the movies. Like I always complain about Batman. Like we'll say like the 89. We'll use the 89 Batman as an example, where it's like I'm interested in seeing Batman do Batman shit. I could care less about Bruce Wayne and his relationship and whether or not he gets to fall in love and marry Vicky Vale. That I don't really care about. But every movie, every superhero movie, any genre movie, it's just basically the male lead falling in love with the female lead, and then they see eye to eye, and the guy gets the girl in the end, and they live happily ever after. Spoiler warning: this does not happen. Gamora leaves and leads her own life. She leaves and leads her own life. And partly, I guess you could look behind the scenes and it's like, Zoe does not want to come back to the character. Dave Bautista is leaving the Drax role. He's not returning to the character. They're two people, I guess, were kind of outspoken about having to spend hours in the makeup chair, given some time and some space, that I'm sure that either of these characters can be talked back into a sequel. I'm sure that maybe a Peter Quill and Gamora romance could blossom in a future movie. But I don't necessarily. It might not happen. She kind of goes off and she leads her own life after it. She just had an adventure with them. I think she respects him more. They're probably more compatriots at this point, but I don't know. Like I don't know if there's a romance, and it's kind of nice because I don't really think that there was a Gamora Peter Quill romance in the books. I do know about a Peter Quill and a Kitty Pryde romance, almost to the point that Kitty Pryde is a fiancée to Peter Quill, and she even adopts his namesake of Star-Lord. That could be a fun avenue to see. I don't know. They would have to time skip Kitty Pryde. She can't be a 13-year-old in the X-Men anymore, considering Peter's like in his 30s, early 40s maybe. That's kind of gross. They might have to time skip her, but I don't really see that coming. I don't really see that be a thing. Although, spoilers, but post credits, at the tail end of the movie, you do get Star-Lord will return. Which I interpreted it as, well, maybe we get a different version of not Peter Quill, but we get a different version of Star-Lord. That was a play on words. That wasn't necessarily that the Peter Quill Star-Lord would return, that maybe we get the Kitty Pryde Star-Lord. But reading articles after the fact, it's the actor Chris Pratt pretty much said that he's all okay. As long as Disney honors James Gunn's vision going forward, he's all okay with coming back to Peter Quill. As long as Disney writes those fat checks, he's okay with returning to the role. And honestly, if I was in his shoes, that's fine with me. I would do the same. So, I'm not. That's not a poo-poo on Chris Pratt. Whatever works for you. Live your life. I guess I want to say like really quick about like the post credit, another spoiler, but mid credits rather. We get Phyla. Am I saying that right now? Now I've been saying it all this time, but she's a in the MCU. She was the sister, or sorry, well, she's the daughter to Captain Marvel, and sister to the guy who would assume, would later become Captain Marvel. And I think she herself has become a Captain Marvel at one time. With the new Marvels coming out, with all the Captain Marvels together, I was kind of wondering if we would get a Phyla in the in the Marvels movie or not. Probably not, because they aged her down. She's actually quite young, so it depends if there's a time skip anywhere in between. I mean, we don't really know when Guardians of the Galaxy happened, so I mean, she could be older by the time the Marvels come out. The Marvels, I should say. Makes it sound like a reboot. The Marvels. But yeah, she's also the other monk ears that she's used is like Quasar. She's Quasar, and I know like James Gunn wanted Quasar from the very beginning, and I wouldn't be surprised that she maybe takes up Quasar at one time. Technically, I think she's like the second Quasar. The first Quasar dies during Annihilation in the comics, which was what is the formation of the 2000 Guardians of the Galaxy. And later on, she acquires the quantum bands. But there's no real need to, we already have her existing in universe, so might as well just make her the first Quasar. That's fine. Overall, I just got to say, it's like, damn you, James Gunn, for making me cry across 4 movies and 1 Christmas special. Now I know that there's only 3 Guardians of the Galaxy movies, but I'm lumping in the Suicide Squad in this too, because I had tearful moments and during there was the tugs on the heartstrings during that movie as well. And the holiday special wasn't so much as sad, was like happy laughter, or happy crying, happy ugly crying. After going through these films, it's like, I don't know, I think like the new DC EU is just gonna freaking devastate me if this is what James has in plan. It's like, Jesus. A very a good way to tell your craft. You're able to, he's able to, I'm talking as if he's in this room, but he's able to, do the sad with the happy. He's able to mix in the emotions, which is it's pretty damn awesome, because we, a lot of our stuff we kind of just get like, I don't know, it just kind of feels like flat, like we just do whatever the movie did before and that's it. And I mean, I guess in the end, I was thinking back, and I think like this might be like the almost flawless trilogy in the MCU, where there's not too much to bitch about across these 3 movies. Iron Man 2 and some parts of Iron Man 3 are kind of sketchy. Thor 2 and Thor 4 are kind of a little bit sketchy. Avengers Age of Ultron's kind of we haven't really gotten to a trilogy with Doctor Strange as of yet, but yeah, I think like this is pretty damn close. I mean, maybe Captain America, but I'm not a huge fan of Captain America: First Avenger. So that might be just a ding on me. I don't know if that's how the internets feel about it or how you feel about it. But how about you tell me how you feel about Captain America: First Avenger or any of the MCU movies? Comment wherever you can comment. Please like and subscribe now that we're on the YouTubes and we're on YouTube Music. Or wherever you can, Spotify, iTunes, but the list goes on, and I will catch you next time. Bye-bye.